Let's get Team Red. We got ourselves Boom as more of that elemental shaman goodness. We got ourselves Dank Knight as a Frost DK. I like this man. I like how casual he looks. Casual Friday, casual Saturday for him. Destiel as an unholy, illiterate as enhancement. We got ourselves Ziaro. I don't know why I was thinking. I thought it was Zuardo, like the or is that right? From JoJo? I don't know why I thought of that. We also got ourselves Axe Banehoof on Team Blue with Look Around the Bag, Zirian and Zalonith. Gonna be on a holy DK. Hopefully Team Blue gets the fifth, but they got method in there, dude. Got some methods of his own. I like that Mohawk thing he got going on. But it's gonna be Zalonith versus, what up Boomin'? It's gonna be a Literate Enhancement Shaman versus an Unholy Death Knight. Clapping up some cheeks here, boys. Stun onto Literate at the beginning as our boy Zell goes for the Army of the Dead. This is where Ascendant's coming out for a Literate Maligan thrown down onto the Enhancement Shaman, but he's actually staying away from Zellon. He's going to go for Sunder. AMS coming out for the DK with big transfusion, huge healing. Just heal through all the bursts that a Literate had for the guy, and Literate is going to have to back out of there immediately. Stun onto Zell. It looks like a Literate's burst is just kind of out of the window. Zell was able to transfusion through all of it. If he can live somehow long enough where he can get some bursts without a transfusion, he might be in a good spot, but now he just has to wait out all the Army of the Dead. The A-bomb is down. Most of the pets are down, so it looks like Illiterate actually survived majority of that damage as more necrotics is starting to creep up. Illiterate needs to get some big procs right now. Earth Shield needs to be maintained at all times and has to go for as much self-healing with that Crucible. Grounding Totem was up for a second in case Zell was going to go, I guess, for a grip or maybe a stun. Sundering coming down onto the DK. That does quite a bit of damage though. And if you can get a couple of those Storm Strikes back to back, you might be good tricking out of Illiterate onto that Strang. And Zell is just trying to build himself up a little bit of damage, but without the army, he's still doing quite a lot. I was gonna say, without the army, usually Death Knight doesn't really have that much damage, but he's still got quite a power. I mean, probably it says more about Enhancement Shaman, just how squishy they are. Like any hit just hurts them because very, very little healing or self-heal is available. Illiterate needs to get the Earth Shield up and running immediately. It's going to have to go for the slow totems onto the pets, trying to avoid the auto attack damage from them as best as possible. And literally just going to have to sit in the Ghost Wolf. And it looks like maybe in Ghost Wolf he might have a playstyle where Ghost Wolf does give him percentage of health every few seconds. That is the play. He's going to have to play the long game. So it's really up for Zell to try to catch him. Maybe pulling your pets back up and mounting up and getting a stun to Illiterate might be the way to go. Maybe trying to get a couple of those deaths. I don't know, like the Death and Decay if you have a slow for that. Actually, you don't have that if you have a Strangulate. But it's really going to be up to him, man. It looks like the Shaman is just trying to run for his life, though. I know it's going to be a ring around the rosy, but the thing is, if Illiterate pokes out in front of Zell, that might be the end. Looks like Zell tried to go for a stun or a grip onto Illiterate, and he grounded all of it. Illiterate going for a big old bloodthirst. Going to be IBF for Zell, getting the pets up and running. Huge death strikes are coming out, and Illiterate looking to get away from those death strikes. Looks like that was quite an engagement for the both of them. Chain of Ice coming down to Illiterate, but the Ghost Wolves keeps him up and running. Zell going for a bit of that death advance. The Army of the Dead actually falling apart as Illiterate was able to outlive majority of it. It looks like Mally stacking up onto the Shaman. AMS available for Zell, and Illiterate going back to the Ghost Wolf, trying to bail out of there. Could be dropping down maybe a grounding totem as soon as he sees that grip, because then the stun is probably going to come in right after. But Illiterate trying to see if he can claw his way back out. It's going to be a stun by the pet. That's going to be a very short stun. Does drop down the grounding totem, which is going to get a stun on Zell, forcing a trinket out of the DK. If Illiterate has any burst available, Zell probably should be pretty open right now, but Illiterate is still playing very defensive, trying to get himself a little bit extra healing, using all his resources just to catch up. It's 3 minutes in. He does have one of his Earth Elementals actually beating up some pets. Zell is actually going to yoink that Earth Elemental Induced Transfusion just to heal off of the Great Earth Elemental. That is just insane. Maintaining this health. He knows that he wins against the Shaman. Can the Shaman somehow surprise the guy? Might be able to. Illiterate getting an Earth Shield up and running. It might be the go-to for Illiterate, but I think Zell might have defenses for it. Does have AMS, a huge transfusion could just nullify any of the bursts. Could it be a trinket out of Illiterate? Let's do a Sunder onto Zell. Just trying to see if he can kite the guy around. It's going to be quite a bit of that Ascendance damage. Does Zell have any grips to get next to Illiterate? If he can just keep a range damage onto him, trying to see if he can sprint past him. Zell actually super low in health. Huge wind strikes coming out. AMS up and running for Zell. Looking to get those death strikes back to back. Transfusion coming out right now. Wall coming out for Illiterate. Zell is catching back up on health, however. Stun onto Illiterate. Zell goes for that Lucron Hellstone, and Zell looking pretty healthy. Capacitor Totem is going to stun him. Illiterate just had such a good go into Zell, but those death strikes just made it harder. He might have to go in between death strikes. He might have to go in between transfusions. He might have to get out there, do some damage, force transfusion, and then come in with a big Ascendance Bloodlust. Or might just have to go for more Bloodlust. You know, every time you have Bloodlust, go for some big damage. Just try to force cooldowns out of Zell, but save majority of your big CDs. That's going to be a big Bloodthirst with Ascendance right now for Illiterate. Looking to get away from Zell. That is going to be quite a bit of Ascendance right now. Walking by the guy. It's going to get himself maybe a little bit of a slow or something. Still, those huge wind strikes are coming out. Zell needs to go for massive healing. Sunder onto Zell while he's low on health. Transfusions are coming out. Does Illiterate have a way to disengage? Continuing to pump damage. Going to be stunned by the pets. And Illiterate is surrounded by the army. Zell, no longer with transfusion. But still, that's going to be Illiterate super low on health. Does have a wall if needs to. IBF available for Zell. If Illiterate can now just keep Zell at low health, stay on that Ghost Wolf playstyle, just keep himself alive for a little bit longer, then come in with a big old clap up for the clap cheeks, and he might be in a good spot. It looks like Zell actually recovered quite a bit of health. Doesn't even need those death strikes. It looks like the Underrot Trinket procs were enough. Going to be a stun onto Illiterate. Does not have a pre-grounding for that one, which is a little bit unfortunate. Zell catching up a little bit on health. Illiterate getting quite a few resources with rock bodies. Missing the Sundering. That is so unfortunate. That might be the end to his run. Trying to see if he can sprint the hell out of there as necrotics were stacked up. Healing through them. Zell popping in AMS a little bit early as he's hoping to engage with Illiterate. This pillar in between of those is the only thing that's keeping this enhancement Shaman alive. But can he still make a comeback against this Death Knight monster? The healing, the damage of Zell is just so difficult to deal with. Illiterate popping in big Bloodlust right now, trying to get all that haste up and running. Is he going to be able to make anything out of it? Zell getting that huge Underrot proc right now. Going to get some necrotic stacked up into Illiterate. Is that a Maledic as well? Illiterate actually not looking all that good. Trying to drop a Capacitor Totem on one side. I think it's stunned the pets of Zell. But that's about all he could do. Get an Earth Shield up and running again. Zell's Underrot procs are just so huge. He's getting so much passive healing out of that one. Besides the death strikes, which are also pretty monstrous, as is. Zell, no longer with a grounding totem. I'm not sure if he used it for something. It looks like Illiterate might be running a totem, a healing totem trinket. Maybe that's why his damage is kind of all over the place, but he is running a healing totem trinket in order to give himself a little bit more viability. There's going to be a grounding totem as Illiterate tried to bait Zell, but it looks like he didn't use any grips or any stranglers. The next strang might be a trinket out of Illiterate. He is playing Oryxlos, or stun shouldn't be quite as powerful. Zell is probably going to have every cooldown available. The Army of the Dead up and running. Going to be a trinket out of Illiterate off that stun. Immediately Bloodlust coming out into a big Sunder. Does he have any big damage? Army of the Dead approaching. Zell popping in AMS. And Illiterate is looking to maybe get the hell out of there. Chain of Ice are not going to slow him down. Zell got the Death Advance. Trying to min-max the uptime onto Illiterate. Looks like he's catching up a little bit. Needs to get a couple of those Death Strikes back to back if possible. Illiterate looking to maybe just get away from Zell. Needs to make sure the corners are tight around the pillar. That's going to be Abomination smacking him left and right. There's going to be Save Trinket coming out. 33% dampen. His 10 minutes have passed into this just one duel. And Zell still has fair amount of health. Illiterate tried to recover as much as humanly possible. Needs to get himself even more resources available. Zell still on the chase. Illiterate, does he have a chance? Might be able to get a big ascendance into Zell if he's able to get the grip up and running. Keep the slows into Zell. He might be able to stay enough distance and blast him with a big old Bloodlust and Ascendance. If Zell can somehow get close to Illiterate, if he can save that stun, if he save that grip, then Illiterate's burst will be locked out. And that might be the last chance. The dampening is so high. Illiterate is at this point unable to get himself back up to full health anymore. Actually is unable to get himself up to full health. He's going to go for big ascendance. Grounding totem position might need to be perfect. Going to be AMS available for Zell. Looks like somebody team blue left. Zell tried to go for a big transfusion. He actually is going to get himself one big death strike. Illiterate tried to fight through the healing. Zell tried to heal through the damage. It's actually going to be super close between one and the other. Sundering coming out of Zell. He checks out of the Sundering. Super low in health. It looks like Illiterate does end up taking it against the unholy Death Knight at the very end. Oh my goodness. Whoever on team blue just left. Gonna be an immediate interrupt onto Zirian. Who left in Team Blue? They had Lucron, they have Method, they have Zirian, they had one more guy. Either way, dude. Either way. Literally, they actually won against the Unholy Death, and it took them literally 10 minutes of the game. Always having to wait for cooldowns, waiting for the perfect opportunity, and in the end, he just has to blast as much damage as humanly possible. And Zell did go down, ran out of healing at between 30 to 40% dampening, which is quite rough. There's going to be more interrupts on Caesarian every time he's trying to get any kind of cast with fire. Just not letting him play with fire at all. And literally being a melee. And being a shaman, he does have a short interrupt. It's also a ranged interrupt, so Zarian will have to play around the distance and still hugging up pillars as best as possible. Did get himself Ghost Wolves up and running. And it looks like he might not even use Ghost Wolves offensively. Tricky coming out of the breath before he gets clapped out into the polymorph. And Illiterate now is a little bit behind right now. Needs to wait out until he gets a good setup. Needs to get himself maybe a little bit of a grounding totem. Is going to get an interrupt on the fire onto Zarian. Bloodlust coming out right now. Trying to get the most damage. Zarian might just have to pop a defensive and you'll be seeing the ice block coming out of the mage immediately. Illiterate with quite a lot of damage still left. Actually, this is probably the best matchup Illiterate has. A mage. Plus a fire mage. Breath coming out onto Illiterate. It looks like it breaks immediately. Meteor coming down. It's going to be a polymorph trying to come out onto by Zarian. But it looks like Illiterate is going to interrupt him and hide a little bit in line of sight. Big Cauterize trying to come out. Illiterate just needs to do a little bit of damage to the Cauterize. He might just have him. Crucible coming out for Zarian, but it's not going to be a lot. The Earth Elemental might be enough. And Illiterate does take him out with a Frostbrand weapon. Lucron is up next versus Illiterate. Who was it that left on Team Blue actually? Does anybody know? Get already hits was really good damage wise. Yeah, but Zell, I mean, dude, that's a death knight, man. Have you seen how much damage he puts in? And a single couple, like literally 2 deaths because it's just like full health, and it's just like, oh my god, it's tough. It's actually tough. But who was it that left in Team Blue actually? Because somebody left. I don't know who it was. Illiterate tried to see if he could fight the Lucron. Gonna have to go for a little bit more line of sight gameplay. Lucron summoning a fresh new Felgar for this one. And 54% dampening. I feel like at this point, Illiterate must be running out of steam. Like, before I felt like he was basically out of steam. 10 minutes after fighting the DK. Our warrior? Oh, okay, yeah, that's fine. Rest in peace, the warrior. But then again, if the warrior also needed to play, that would just be another guy for Illiterate to have an extended game against, you know what I mean? If you're trying to come out for Lucron, there is going to be potential for Tremor Totem for Illiterate. Is going to have a Tremor Totem, I think, available for him. Getting an interrupt onto Lucron. There's going to be a hand of cooldown coming out as Illiterate got a little bit of bloodthirst. Ascendance coming down, gonna be a stun coming in onto Illiterate, gonna get the Tyrant into a horror effect. I think Illiterate might actually go down. He's actually getting quite a bit of good line of sight from all those pets. Ascendance still trying to get some damage out, but Lucron does end up clapping him out. It's going for a quick cannibalize real fast. That is the first guy on Team Blue that even got to play, or Team Red that got to play. Illiterate. Went through, I think, 2 people. 1 person left, so I guess maybe we can count that warrior towards Illiterate. I just want to see if that guy axe. Oh, okay. Did he just see it because he AFK'd or something? That's fine though. Lucron and Boom. They actually know each other. They actually play twos together. Me and Spart ran into them and they whooped our asses. Not even funny. Lucron got some damage, dude. And Boom is just really good. Just a really good player. No matter what class he plays. Let's get to Boom and Lucron. Friends, now foes. 15 minutes into this duel, 62% dampening. No healing is going to be viable here. Lightning Lasso coming out for Boom as he's trying to hide around the corner. Lucron is going to get a horror effect into a fear to follow into Boom. He's going to get a grounding totem. I was actually surprised he went for a grounding totem instead of going for maybe a tremor totem. I would have thought that would have been better against the fear. I would have maybe he gotten in between. It's going to be Earth Elemental coming out. Lucron is going to go for banishing an Earth Elemental. Stormkeeper coming out for Boom. Yeah, that's quite a bit of damage. Lucron is going to have a Reflect available, but Boom is actually going to fake him out. He's just going to stay in Ghostful form the whole time. And there's going to be that Greater Fire Elemental. Now he's ready to get the big zaps going. Lightning Lasso into Lucron. Going to be a stun onto Boom with a pet. And Lucron is going to swap around to the Greater Fire Elemental. Drain it for a second. But then he's going to hit it with the Banish. Going to try to deny the pet as much damage as possible. Mally rolling onto Lucron. It's going to have to just drain life through it as best as possible. Boom just might have to pour some pressure on Lucron. Lucron's kind of low. Lucron's still holding on to wall. Boom has Lightning Lasso every what is it, 30 seconds? So in 30 seconds, it's going to be quite huge. Actually, that was a bit of a grounding totem for Boom. It's like I'm trying to get some damage back to Lucron, or back to Boom. Lightning Lasso coming out. Wall for Lucron is going to be able to defensive this one up a little bit. But it's still in such a bad spot. He needs to get some damage on the Boom. And he really essentially needs to go for the full-on burst rotation. but he needs to first catch the Boom, and Boom hugging the pillar down the middle as best as possible. Learning a few tricks from Illiterate by the looks of it. It looks like Lucron, all he can really essentially do is maybe pop a Reflect as the Lightning Lasso comes out. Or maybe go for a Succubus CC. There's going to be a Horror effect. Boom actually grabs the Horror. Lightning Lasso is not coming out, but it's going to be some Zams. So Boom is going to reflect back to himself. Is the Lucron get any kind of setup onto a Boom? It's going to summon the pet. That's going to be stunned by Boom. It's going to be knocked back by Boom. Mally onto Lucron. It's going to be a little bit of damage coming out. Or actually, no, it's Mally by Lucron onto Boom. Not by Boom, onto Lucron. Boom is actually taking quite a lot of pressure. The Guardian of Azeroth actually doing quite a bit of damage. Lucron could go down Lightning Lasso right here. Unless the pets do something. That's actually going to be Lucron coming back with one last Demon Bolt at the end. And then a Dank Knight is going to hit him with a big old snowball, and down he goes. Garrod coming out for Method, 17 minutes in, 75% dampening rolling up. Can Method come back from Dank Knight? He's actually going to sprint out of there immediately. Dank Knight needs to go, and he's just teabagging Lucron. Why are you teabagging Lucron? At least cannibalize him. You got some health you can get back, right? Getting a shot coming out by Method immediately. Dank Knight shrinking, with transfusions to follow. Method popping that evasion, trying to deny any kind of healing out of Dank Knight. He does have himself Death Pact as well as IBF. Death Pact comes out. Not a lot he can really do it. Not a lot you can really do about it. Death still walking on his way next towards Method. If you can get him dotted up, he might stand a chance. Method, I mean, whatever amount of health you have right now, Method is basically all you can play with. So any damage you take right now from any of the Army of the Dead is going to be crucial. Blind on Destiel, he does get hit with a kidney shot. Could BF out of it. Did pray AMS, so that poison bomb doesn't really do any work. Method getting hit with a stun does have a trinket if things really go bad. Could trinket it if you wanted to. Cloak of Shadows not available, no Vanish available. He's actually getting surrounded by all the pets. It looks like Method is going to be going down in the end. Sage and Trinket burnt him very quickly, and the Crisis is stacked up, and this rogue has nothing left. The dots are just going to rot him down, and down it goes. I wish you guys didn't leave. I wanted to see how much damage everybody did in the long term. I wanted to see how much damage, the DK healed through. You know what I mean?